Welcome into the latest edition of the Cubs REKAP Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast. With my partner, Gordon Wittenmyer, I'm David Kaplan. It's brought to you by our great partners at Sinus and Snoring MD. Sinus at snoringmd.com. This guy used to be a snorer, and guess what? My wife got me to go there. Now they're a great partner of ours here and at ESPN 1000 on the radio, because I don't snore anymore. If you've got allergies, if you've got sinus issues, if you've got snoring, just go to sinusandsnoringmd.com.
I passed that information along to my wife.
There you go.
She's going to make a phone call.
Send her in there. Absolutely. I threw this out, Gordon, on my Twitter, and I asked people, some people it's X account, whatever. I sent it out. If you have any questions, Gordon and I would love to answer some fans' questions about the state of the Chicago Cubs, because I have tried to be reserved and not go like a lunatic, half-cocked because they haven't done enough yet. I'm going to give them
Anybody
until...
ask why ownership's such pussies?
Wow. I have...
I'm looking at
not yet.
Your shoulder here. I don't see that yet. That's the best question.
I am going to give them into January, and when they start leaving for Arizona and the big names are all off the board, I know there's a lot of guys still out there, I'll be the first guy to take the blowtorch to them. They've done Hobie Milner, left-handed specialist. He's okay.
It's all right.
They did Theo Bar, solid, bring him back.
That's good. Bring him back, yeah.
They did
Maton.
Phil Maton.
I like that. That's a good one.
That's a good bullpen setup guy. And then they got Tyler Austin out of Japan for $1.25 million big league deal. That's fine. He's this year's Justin Turner.
He hits lefties. There's a lot of good lefties in the game nowadays. A lot of teams struggle against him. Bringing a guy like that who can hit lefties. Okay.
Yeah. You need a starter and you need a closer at the very least. So the first question we got was from Motor City Mike, who's a big Cubs fan, even though he lives up in the Motor City. Will Christian Bethancourt be the difference maker in us winning the division and the World Series? They signed him today. I am figuring probably going to have a Cal Raleigh type season. Finally, the Cubs opened their checkbook. And he
that's
says
a great
that
question.
Yes.
That's the right question, and that's exactly the way to ask it. Jesus friggin' Christ.
So when you look at that and you hear the frustration in Cubs fans' tone, whether it's on X, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on the radio, whether it's anywhere, me as a Cubs fan, I find it incredibly disappointing that I'm sitting here, 3 days from Christmas, and haven't added to your rotation, haven't really addressed the back end of your bullpen, and the guy you used to close in the playoffs, he pitches for Philadelphia now. That's Brad Keller. You didn't get a deal done with him. So I don't know what these guys are doing over there.
You need a starter.
You need a starter. You need another bullpen guy for sure. And if someone over there tells me, well, you got Daniel Palencia, you pitched him in the fifth inning in the playoffs. And the guy you're giving $22 million to pitch in your rotation again, Shota Imanaga, by your words, not mine. Your manager said, yeah, we couldn't start him in the decisive Game 5 against the Brewers. So, again.
I still don't have a big problem with that, but you do need to go out and add somebody.
Well,
we're
going to never agree on that. And if he pitches well, I'll be the first to admit they got it done. My problem is in the biggest game of your season, win or go home. And if you win, you play the Dodgers for a right to go to the World Series. You said, we can't pitch this guy. Instead of cutting ties and going to get somebody better, you gave him a qualifying offer and he took it, and you owe him $22 million. You better go get an ace then.
I'm not hanging my hat on that playoff start that he didn't make, because that's where he was then. I think if you project him into next year, you can expect better. And I think if we're talking the year before, he obviously makes the playoff start. So, this is about...
How do you know that?
The year before?
No, I'm talking about this coming year.
I don't know. We can't know it, but I believe that that's the case based on what I've seen of his first 2 years in the big leagues.
Ben Flederer wants to know, can we take up a Christmas collection for poor Tom Ricketts?
You know what? You're channeling Bill Murray on that one. when I don't know if you remember this, Cap, but in 2021, in the summer of 2021, when they were selling off all those guys, and this was before they sold them off, I believe it was 21, might have been 22, I'm pretty sure, because in 22 there was Happ and Contreras on the block too, but I think it was 21. And he did the stretch. He was at Wrigley and did the stretch, and I caught him on the way out and got him on video when we were both working at NBC Sports Chicago and for some of our stuff. And he said the same thing. He wanted to open up a lemonade stand to help poor old Tom Ricketts so he could keep some of those guys. Same thing, different players. Same thing, different year.
It's just highly disappointing. Adam A. Fabes 24 on Twitter at the Catman. Do you know if they're awake over there?
We don't know that.
We don't know
that. We put in phone calls. They have not been returned. We don't know. I did see a conscious Jed Hoyer at the winter meetings, but that was a week and a half ago. Hey, by the way, I got to, I mean, this speaks to what we're talking about. I didn't bring this up on our last podcast, but I ran into Jed in the hallway, passing him, and there's sort of an inside joke with Jed that every time I come up, I've got money questions, and it's an open joke, whatever. It's open. I don't care. Those are the questions to ask.
Yeah, agreed.
And the fact that he thinks that that's funny that I ask him, well, that's on everybody else that doesn't ask him. But anyway, the point is, I'm walking down the hall with two big, huge cups of coffee one morning at the winter meetings, probably the third morning there. And then by now you're putting in 18-hour days. And so, they were both for me, actually. And he says, he sees me walking down the hall. I'm rushing my way. He's rushing his. He says, one of those for me, because I can't afford it.
My God. I love his sense of humor.
I mean,
there are Cubs fans that are just
he was laughing,
in their mouth.
But if I'm a Cubs fan, there's too much truth to that one.
Wyatt McGarry says, who is most likely to have their breakout year for the 2026 Cubbies? Casey, Alcantara, Wiggins, or someone else? I would bet that it would be Jackson Wiggins coming up later into the season like Cade Horton did. I think Owen Casey is a better prospect than Kevin Alcantara.
I think Casey's the answer to that question because he's going to get the opportunity out of the chute in all likelihood.
People are frustrated. James Plunkett wants to know, hearing anything regarding Imai or Bregman. I'm hearing they're not as seriously involved on Imai unless he's willing to take a shorter-term deal like the kid, the third baseman who just signed with the White Sox, who got introduced today, by the way.
He's not taking a 2-year deal.
No, he's not.
No, it's just some
they
people
just don't want to
project
go
6
7
years. He's 27 years old.
Right.
This is his shot. He's going to get probably longer than Valdez. How old's Gallen?
30.
So he might get more than Gallen or at least the same. And let me ask
how
you
long
this.
did Yamamoto get?
7?
He might have got a 7-year deal.
He got a $300 million deal, 325, I think. Cap, let me ask you this. Zach Gallen's still out there. They're supposedly interested in him. Imai's out there. We just talked about him.
Framber Valdez,
who would be my choice. And then another lefty, Ranger Suarez, who had his second best season of his career for the Phillies this past year. Those guys are the top of the market guys right now, those 4. First of all, I'd like to know which one of those you'd like if they were going to add one. And then 2, if they don't add any of them, what is that a failure this winter?
If they don't add any of them, it's a massive failure. Massive. Now, again, Jed can only sign who Tom lets him sign. I'm sure that if Jed wants to sign you to a minor league deal for the league minimum, Tom doesn't care. He doesn't have to go to him. But if he's going to sign, what's his name? Imai, and it's going to cost 6 times 30, $180 million, I guarantee you he has to go to the owner. He can't just make the deal.
Well, any long-term deals that are anything close to that magnitude, it typically for any team goes through the owner. So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but they didn't pay into they didn't pay luxury tax. 9 teams paid luxury tax in 2025.
Correct.
They didn't. So they reset. And
because they did in 24.
And they might be able to, I haven't done all the numbers, but I think they're low enough, especially with Tucker gone. They could sign a guy at that level and I think still be under the luxury tax threshold. So that's supposedly their rough limit most years is something within the range of that. So it seems like even if, yes, ownership comes into a decision like that. But the other thing about ownership, Cap, and you've heard Tom say this over and over again, if the money's there and he is okay with the money, he's not coming in and making personnel decisions. He's saying, my baseball guys make baseball decisions. If that's the baseball guy they want, and he's willing to commit to a salary like that doesn't take him over the luxury tax threshold, then he's going to let the baseball guys choose the guy they want.
So we got a bunch of people that are responding here. BTC for the World says, be super realistic. Who will the Cubs actually sign, and what will their win total be as a result? I think they're going to add a starter. I do. Do I think they're going to get Framber Valdez? I do not. He doesn't fit anything that they do. He's a spicy guy in the clubhouse, spicy personality on the field. That's so
I love it.
I do too, but it's so unlike the vanilla Chicago Cubs. Who do they have that has any other than Justin Steele? Tell me who they have that has that kind of personality.
Well, Shota has a personality, and they didn't want him.
Yeah, and Shota's not spicy, though. He's just a cuddly, nice guy. He's
well,
got
the
personality.
last guy they had like that just got traded from the Cardinals to the Red Sox.
That's my point. Wilson Contreras, he plays for
and they
Boston
wanted no
now.
Part of that.
And they didn't even make an offer.
And I will argue that was part of what made him successful. That was part of what made them successful early in his career.
Yeah. So they don't want anybody with any kind of spice and any fire, which disappoints me.
Which is a terrible approach to take.
The other, so he asked who actually will they sign? They are in there on Bregman. And if they can't get an extension done with Nico Hoerner, which I think there are some discussions ongoing, I could see them trading Nico Hoerner. I could. He's in the final year of his deal.
That would be a big mistake.
Well, what if you moved Matt Shaw to second and you signed Bregman to play third?
The reason it's a big mistake is the same reason that we talked about this a year plus ago. Should they trade him because he was the one guy they kind of could trade based on where he was in his contract? He's a rare skill set. He's an elite contact hitter in this game. He's also one of your best clubhouse presences. He's as close as there is to a bona fide leader in that clubhouse at this point in his career. You talk about spicy. He may not be spicy, but he's tough. He's a tough, smart team player with an elite skill set. Defensively, too. It would be a big mistake to trade him because he's getting underpaid for who he is, in my mind, and he's going to help you win. And then you got to turn around and replace what he represents on your roster if you move him. I think that would be a big mistake.
So if you can't come to an agreement with him on an extension, you're prepared to let him go into a walk year?
I don't know why you can't be aggressive enough to get him re-signed for what I think he means to your team.
So if I told you that you could sign Alex Bregman and you're going to put him at third, are you trading Matt Shaw?
You've still got a DH spot to play with too, and you're only talking about.
How do you have a DH spot? You got that's going to be Suzuki.
Yeah, but who's in the right field?
Owen Casey.
Maybe
that's their plan.
Well, you've got these positions to play with, and you're only talking about 1 year anyway. Where this is the equation. Long term, you can do a number of things. So I think you sign the best players you can sign that make you a better team, and then figure out where you finally play all these guys. I mean, you can't sign 15 first basemen. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you've got the ability to move some of these guys around and play with some positions, you do it. But I don't see that happening. Look, this team isn't going to spend enough money to get Bregman and a legitimate starting pitcher.
That's probably fair.
So the resources have to go into the starting pitcher. And if it's not going to be one of those top guys because they're going to be so risk averse to the long-term deal or not want to pay the money, then I'm looking at the list of free agents here. I mean, you got Chris Bassett, you got Lucas Giolito is still out there, isn't he?
That's not a team trying to win if that's who you sign.
Right, well, these are the guys, Zach Littell. I mean, these are the guys.
Not interested.
These are the guys that would be out there then. So you got to circle back to the top.
Well, then it's Zach Gallen, it's Imai, it's Framber Valdez. And if I had to guess on one of those three, they'd sign Zach Gallen. He'll be the lowest in terms of money and the shortest in terms of term. I
think there's a value guy to get out there if they want in that next tier, and that's Nick Martinez because, again, he brings a total package as a competitor. He's got enough arm talent to win games. He's old enough that you can get him on a short-term deal. He's kind of like the guy I could see them getting. He's a great clubhouse guy. But I don't think he's the answer to your rotation by any means, as much as I like the guy, having covered him for the last 2 years. So, again, circle back to the top. Go get one of those top four guys.
Okay, so if I told you they could do that, but they're not going to add a bat of any kind, of any substance, you cool with that?
Yeah, I told you that from the outset of the offseason. I'm cool with that because pitching. Look, man, you saw at the end of the day, like who had the most firepower in their lineup. The Mets were right up there. They didn't make the playoffs. By the time you got down to the ALCS, the World Series, it was all pitching, man. And the teams that had the most of it wound up surviving those epic series. They better get some more pitching.
Well, here's the thing. You got into the Brewers series. One pitcher that you're paying $22 million to in Imanaga, we've already talked about it. You couldn't start him in game 5. In your bullpen, the guy that right now today is your closer, because you don't have anyone else who can close on your roster, Palencia, you used him in the 5th inning multiple games. 5th inning. Now you're going to
I'm not worried about the closer. I'm going to figure that out and go get somebody at the deadline if I'm in that position. But you need the starter. You better get the starter.
Yeah, I absolutely would get a starter, but I need a closer.
You need to win that damn division this year.
Agreed. But I won 92 games if I'm the Cubs. 92 wins, and I don't have a guy I can hand the ball to at the back end of the game and go, well, we're up 3-2. Okay, go get him, big guy. Close it down. We don't have that, so I need a starter and I need a closer. Teams that go into the season and keep piecemealing, hoping, well, that guy on a minor league deal might work out. And guess what? They never get it done.
I don't disagree with that as a broad theory. When it comes to the closer, if you're going to spend money right now, make sure it's on the right starter. If you need to fill in your bullpen with good, reliable veterans who can pitch some leverage innings for you and figure out the ninth, the first few months of the season, and then go get the guy at the deadline, I think that can be a recipe to postseason success. And the thing that we haven't mentioned is this is an elite fielding team. Elite, not just pretty good. And up the middle, especially elite. That means your run prevention already starts with a pretty big head start, compared to the teams who played late into the postseason.
That's why if I'm Framber Valdez, if they would come close on the money, I want to pitch there. With that,
I agree.
Defense?
And it's a pitcher's park most of the time.
Correct. But Devin Williams says, I actually wanted to pitch for the Cubs. They wouldn't match the money. 3 for 51.
That's
sad. Not like he got
that's sad.
7 for 150.
That's not a crazy amount of money, and it's not a crazy length of contract.
And someone who I respect who works around the Cubs said to me, they're saying that maybe they weren't as interested. They were negotiating. If you weren't interested, why were you ever negotiating?
And how do you not match that?
Agreed.
That's where he wants to go. He's not going to keep coming at you over and over again trying to get the next dollar and the next dollar and the next dollar. Just match it.
Here you go. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Done.
I mean, it's not an overpay.
Completely agree. So I think I speak for Cub fans everywhere. They are exceptionally frustrated. And I think it's pathetic. I really do.
It should be.
I think it's really sad that as a Cubs fan, that's what we've got to deal with.
And it's not like this is a one-off. This is years in the making. This is a pattern of years. It frustrate the hell out of me if I was you, Cap, knowing where your heart is on your sleeve with this club. Let me point something out. I'm looking at this. The Cardinals have traded away Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras this offseason.
Correct.
And they were already.
And they got nothing back in terms of helping them this year.
They're not going to be players for a couple of years. They're gone. The Brewers haven't done much. And if they keep Freddie Peralta, they'll hang around. But they might yet trade Freddie Peralta. They could take it. The Reds haven't done anything but add a couple of guys to their bullpen. Look, the Pirates right now have made the biggest acquisition in the division. The Pirates, for God's sake, adding Brandon Lowe, a 30-plus home run guy. They've still got Paul Skeens. They've still got Mitch Keller. They're going to win a lot more games than we've seen them win the last couple of years. And I looked this up. So the Cubs were 10-3 against the Pirates this year. They were 7-6 against, 17-9 the last 2 years against them. That ain't going to happen again. Not just going in with, these crappy little signings around the edge of the roster. They're going to be a tougher out. But there's wins to pick up. Pirates aren't going to be world beaters. There's wins. You go in and fix your roster. You'll do all right against them. There's wins to get against the Cardinals. There's wins to get against the Brewers. There's wins to get against the Reds the way they look right now. You're just sitting here pissing away a golden opportunity.
Completely agree. Ape wants to know the Kyle Tucker market does not seem to be there at the moment. Do you think the Cubs could make a 5-year, $200 million offer with player opt-outs, or would Too Cheap Tom allow that? Would you sign him?
If you're trying to get a short-term high AAV deal with opt-outs, then you might. You're not talking a 5-year deal, but would you? You're asking, would I do a 5-year, $200 million for him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would spend Tom's money on that.
Would you spend your money on that?
If I'm running the Cubs, making the money they are,
I'm disappointed how
what
he
I would
played.
do. Yeah, I'm very
I'm not sure I would do that.
I'm not sure I would prioritize him. If I'm spending that kind of money,
I'm putting it into my pitching staff.
If I'm the owner of the Cubs making the money that the Cubs are making, I'm going out and getting one of those pitchers. I'm looking at that hitter market. I'm looking at this now. I would have gone. Yeah.
If you were really serious about winning the World Series, why would you not go out and either put Shaw, if you're going to re-sign Nico, put Shaw on a deal to try and get Joe Ryan, for example, from the Twins, and then sign Bregman to play third.
And then sign Bregman. Yeah.
That's if you're truly trying to win.
That's the kind of move I would make.
All right, last one. Frustrated Cubs fan says, why does the front office continue to operate like the Tampa Bay Rays or the Cleveland Guardians when they are the capital letters Chicago Cubs?
Chicago freaking Cubs.
They are.
Why? Well, they're cheap. They don't want to spend. They want to put profits in their pocket. They want an estate plan for their family because they run that thing through the family trust. Take your choice. The fact of the matter is we know what the behavior is, and that's what matters because that's why you're left going not quite all in any given year when you have these opportunities.
Totally agree. Gordon, did you do all your Christmas shopping?
No, I'm heading out to the store after this.
Really?
You know what? It always comes up quick on me because Thanksgiving comes.
I know it's never the same date. You never would know when it is.
But then I gear up for the winter meetings, and I think, well, I'll take care of it afterwards. There's only like a full week left after that, and then
you better get to the store.
And then it always sneaks up on me.
You better get to the store. That is all I can tell you. I've got all my shopping done. My wife does 98% of it.
I don't know if anybody heard that. That was
that was Guff over there saying, thanks, Mindy. That's my wife. Yeah. She does most of it. That is a fact. But I do her shopping.
Well, my wife, thanks, Lisa.
And
does a lot of ours.
And
so
my son
I do
Brett
get a head start on it.
My son Brett asked for one thing. He goes, Dad, I don't really need anything. You guys are good to me. I want one thing. He wanted another Cubs jersey. Can you name the current or past Chicago Cub that he wanted? And I picked it up at Dino's Sports Fan Shop in the Glen.
A Wilson one?
He has a Contreras one.
So it wouldn't be that.
Because
I know
Wilson was always very nice to
Wilson,
Brett.
yeah.
Is it a Murakami jersey?
It is not a Murakami jersey. No.
Shota.
He did not get a Shota jersey.
Well, it's got to be like PCA.
It is not. He
Really?
wanted. He came to us and said, "There's one jersey I want."
Caleb Williams.
Cubs player,
Oh.
Kyle Hendricks.
Oh, nice.
And so I sent a
Way
text.
to go, Brett. That's
I sent a text with a
good call.
picture of the jersey when I was coming out of Dino's. I had it, hung it up in my car, and I took a picture and I texted it to Kyle Hendricks, and he wrote me back the nicest note. Does Brett want it signed?
Oh,
I'd love
my
to
God.
sign it for him. He said, that is the most humbling thing that I've been out of there for 2 years. And this kid said, all I want for the holidays is one thing. I want a Kyle Hendricks home Cubs jersey. So we got it for him.
That is, that's a great choice.
He's
I don't know that there's a better choice than that.
He's one of the kindest, best people I've ever dealt with in Chicago sports.
Oh, from day one to day last. And
He's
just
the
the
best.
classiest guy.
The best. Happy holidays.
You too, man.
We love having you as a teammate. There he is, my guy. We fight a lot on the air, but off the air, he knows I'm
Off
right.
the air, we fight even more.
He knows I'm right.
I
For Gordon,
No,
I'm
that's
Cap.
not
It's
true.
our Cubs Recap Podcast brought to you by our great partners at Sinus and Snoring MD.com. That's right. If you've got sinus issues, snoring issues, allergies, Sinus and Snoring MD.com. Have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays to you and yours. Take that.